Just a few quick words on oscillations and frequency and period. So all kinds of things wiggle, move back and forth, jiggle around, musical instruments for sure, but also, car springs and just about just huge numbers of things make sounds, and that's all about this word called oscillations, which is the wiggling motion. So an oscillation is a wiggle. If you look at a graph of position versus time, let's spell time with a T, shall we? So position versus time, generally speaking, an oscillation is going to look kind of like a sine wave. So it'll move one direction, then the other, then it goes back and forth with time. So that's an oscillation. Now, what you can do with oscillations is think about how many oscillations happen in 1 second, and that's frequency. And we're going to use the symbol F, and the units are going to be cycles per second. On my graph here, let's just get our cycle straight. So that would be, if you start at 0, then you need to go all the way around to 0, coming from the same direction. So you do cross over here, but we think of one cycle as a little more specific than just up and down, because it's the velocity or whatever is opposite right there. So you need to go the whole wave, and then that's one cycle right there. So how many times it does that per second, that's the frequency. That can be any number. There's no particular thing. And we've also got the time for one cycle. So how long did that cycle take? Time for one cycle. We give this a special word, the period. Okay, and we'll use the letter capital T for this textbook anyway, and that's in time units. So that's in units of seconds. So how long did that cycle take? That's the time, or the period. And then how many times did that happen per second is the frequency. And they're related. So frequency is 1 over period, like that. So you can box that up. That's a little pocket formula that we can use. Frequency has its own unit, the Hertz, named after a scientist. Abbreviation H, capital H with a little z on it, and that's number of cycles per second. And so often we will put a Hertz on there, but other times we'll forget, and we'll just have 1 over second for our units, and that's going to be, so this sort of cycles thing, it's like a pure number. It's really not a physics unit, it's just counting things. So Hertz is the same as inverse seconds. And it kind of makes sense if you look at this little units equation and compare it to that equation. It's exactly the same.